So there haven't been a whole lot of constants since I started working in recording studios, but one piece of gear has followed me around for almost 20 years at this point. Good Lord, I'm getting old. It has never really seen a true refresh until today. Beyerdynamic DT990s are getting a makeover. Glow up? What should we call it? First things first, I noticed most of you guys are not subscribed.
How dare you?
Go ahead and fix this. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button down there. I'm just kidding. You don't have to. No, you have to. At the end of all this, keep in mind this is a sponsored video, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. However, if you are interested in the 990s, Pro X's, or any other set of headphones, there's an affiliate link down below. Go check that out. So I have had a set of 990s with me since I started. There's like a couple things you can bank on a studio having wherever you went. A set of 990s or some kind of Beyerdynamic headphone. And then what was the cheap Sony headphones that everybody has?
Oh, they have the red and blue on them?
Yes, hang on. Or like a set of the Sony professional headphones. Now, a lot of people use headphones differently in and around the recording studio, and I will talk specifically about how I use them. So again, grain of salt time, okay? There is no one hard and fast rule about monitoring when it comes to anything, and I've said that in multiple videos that I've talked about. Even my favorite monitors may not be right for some of you guys out there. Some of my favorite headphones may not be right for some of you guys out there, especially when it comes to Usecase. Good time to mention this is a sponsored video. It is sponsored by Beyer. I was approached by them to see if I wanted to try out this set of headphones, and because I've had my own set of 990s and 770s for longer than I've known my wife, I said yes. So I guess take everything I say with a grain of salt, maybe. If you'll notice anything about my setup here, I typically run, I think for my entire career, I just was not one of those people that wanted to set up multiple sets of main monitors to listen to. So headphones for me have been that second set of monitors. But having my 990s, those have followed me basically through every room. And it's kind of been like my constant in teaching me how to learn a room. And if this isn't the 990s for you, find something that's like this. This is a pretty approachable headphone because even these new ones, the brand new right now launching today, they're $199. At least they should be. Check me on that. I was told they're $199. Of course, I can't see it right now because this is before it goes live. But the 990 has not been an expensive headphone up to this point. A couple sets here. This is my intern's set of 990s because mine is old enough to drive. Actually, I think it's old enough to drink at this point in most states. And they're at home and they look really gross. And this is my set of 770s. This is their closed back version. This is for people, if they don't like the sound of the direct sounds that I typically have around the studio. If I give these to somebody, they're typically pretty happy because these are honest headphones when it comes to tracking. Being an open back headphone, this has a very specific use case for me in the studio. You would never use this for tracking. The leakage you're going to get from this is kind of crazy. That's loud. Everything I hear, you're going to hear. There is no being inconspicuous wearing a set of headphones like this. Like if I'm on the plane or traveling somewhere, I'm not going to mix on these because I don't want everyone in the world to hear me trying to dial in a vocal compressor. It's not a good time. And honestly, I don't really use these for mixing entire records. For me, I use these for what I hear a lot of people using like NS10s for. But it's a way cheaper, way quicker version to get down to it. Having used these for a long, long time, they kind of lay to bear that upper mid-range, like it'll spit out really gross frequencies. It'll help you dial in attack settings on your compressor if you don't have a super strong or environment that you can trust that you're listening to. Help you de-ess a vocal pretty easy. And it'll help you figure out what pops out and what doesn't pop out on more of a consumer level. I would actually be interested to see what you hear. Would you want to switch real quick?
We can do that.
I didn't tell you about this. So listen in the room for a hot second and then pop those headphones on and see what you hear or what you don't hear. if you are curious about this song and you want to see how we recorded guitars and vocals on this song in particular, you're hearing it off of a shotgun mic on a camera. But if you're into that, we do have a full fly on the wall video that I think is at least over an hour long of just hanging in the studio while we record this song. We'll put a link to that down below.
I can definitely hear a lot more clarity coming through, like a lot of the cymbal work in this specific track.
It's kind of like that gross 8K-ish area is like super easy to hear.
Exactly.
Is there like one piece of the drum kit that you're not hearing in those headphones?
That's a good question. Was it a trick question?
No, kick drum.
I hear it kick drum just fine.
Okay, I had turned it up.
Did you? I hear the initial attack of the kick drum, and this is like a metal song, so there's going to be a little bit more of that attack on the kick drum anyway, just stylistically.
I should put this back to where it was. First, I took a listen on the headphones, and I was like, oh, I lost the kick drum.
Oh.
So that's where it was.
Okay.
Now listen in the headphones and see if you can hear the kick drum.
Yeah, it's pretty buried now, for sure.
But what's wild is it's not in the room. Like, it's not as present, but like...
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, if I was in the room and this was part of like the mix that I was doing, I would still want to turn the kick up from where it's at right now.
But it's like those rabbit holes that you can go down when you're getting used to a mix and then kind of losing context and switching to that. I was like, oh, the kick drum is low. To that point, I've never been one to have multiple sets of monitors for any number of reasons. It steals another output from me. If I wanted to go down the route of the NS10, then you go down the rabbit hole of like, okay, what amp do you pair with that? It was something that I just didn't want to get into when I really just wanted to check against like consumer stuff. This does that for me, and just checking like super quick things for that. The other thing, having the 990s, because they lay those gross areas to bear. And this is not mixed, right? This is coming off of tracking. It's on the template now. It's ready to be mixed. But one of the main areas that I don't necessarily hear in the room, the de-essing spot and the abrasive spot in that vocal, impossible to show over a video. These headphones is where that's gonna just come out to play like crazy, and you can dial in a de-esser very easy with something like this, and it's a way more affordable route than trying to get a whole other set of monitors. We have all of our headphones in here, and I want to listen to each one of them individually because what I notice happening before I've gotten any documentation on this, because it is that early in the release stage, I definitely notice a little more low-end extension on the newer 990s as opposed to the older 990s. They are way easier to drive because they're 48 ohms as opposed to like the traditional 250, and I think they came in 250 and 80. I could be wrong on that. So the newer ones are way easier to drive with whatever you're using, which means more volume, lower power levels. But as far as an audible difference, I'm kind of curious here. I know that sound. More low-end extension, more high-end extension without being like gross, but it still has that kind of 2 to 8K thing that I like about the 990s and dialing in like de-essing. This is a different song off of that same artist, but this is kind of, it's already generally mixed. I've started the process of mixing this song, so it's interesting to hear that. What I am curious about is hearing it against the 770s, which is more your world, in a closed-back situation. Cymbals pop right out.
Yeah.
God, that's loud. I use way more closed-back than I do open back for mixing. To me, they're completely different use cases. I don't typically mix on headphones, period. These are not a set of headphones that I think replace studio monitors. That's not what they're built for. Could you do that? Yeah, that is important to remember. That's not what they're designed for. They're not meant to be like a main speaker. How I use them and how I find them the most useful is to be like that second set for you. Instead of spending $1,000 on a whole different set to just get that like consumer spot where you'd listen to like those gross frequencies out of some gross things. And like some of my mentors have literally set up like old boom boxes to the side, or they've done the NS10 thing, or the Oratones, which are dumb expensive for what they do and for what they are. And I have mixed on Oratones and it's not a good time. These do exactly the same thing to me for a fraction of the price, and you can just put them in a bag. From a tracking perspective, where you want to hear those problem-solving areas, if you are separated from your talent and the microphones doing the recording, it's perfect for that. This refresh is kind of wild to me, because if there's been a constant, it's death taxes, and the 990s will always sound like 990s. This definitely sticks to that lineage, but a couple of the things that they have redone here, and again, grain of salt, this is a sponsored video. I'm paid to show these to you. Do you need to buy these? No. Will this be perfect for everyone? No. I'm just telling you what I use them for. Here's the things that I like after having the 990s for like 2 decades. The gross way that it'll lay to bear like your de-essing and your EQ for your main vocal. It'll show you what pops out and what doesn't pop out from like a balanced perspective on a general consumer level system. Now, you have a detachable cable, which is solid. They have finally come into the modern times. And being now, I believe these are
48.
I'll correct myself, but I'm 90% sure these are
48.
way hotter output without sacrificing like a ton of headroom on here. They do have new speakers in these. They are very reminiscent of the old design. If you like the 990s, it won't be some completely different headphone. They're now modern. And one of the few headphones like you could wear all day. If you like this video and you're into the 990s and you want to see more about what Beyer does, why don't you go check out this video I did with Beyer. This is the M160, and right there is the M88, because I use it all the time on my kick drum. Go check it out.